coming out of a divorce, we're starting all over. We're starting over in relationships. Many women, especially, want to talk about and pursue dating. So it's like a blank slate, and we're starting all over in every aspect of relationship. We may be starting over with our own friends. We may be starting over trying to make new friends, starting over in family relationships where maybe there's some mud that's been thrown. So we've got to figure out, how do we start? Where do we start? And then start doing the work. And personally, I believe that the first place we all need to start is right here with ourselves. Because if we don't work on us, then what kind of a person, a friend are we going to be to other people? And certainly coming out of divorce, we're still dealing most likely with, at the very least, hurt, perhaps loneliness, disappointment, failure, possibly anger, animosity, frustration. I mean, the list is like ginormous. So we're dealing with a lot. We need to get a handle on it. We need to deal with our emotions. We need to rebalance, recalibrate our being, and get back to a place where we feel like our feet are on the ground with who we are and what's important to us before we march forward in pursuing other relationships or restoring relationships.
Oh, that's so true, Elizabeth. And you can categorize all your relationships from, first of all, the one you have with yourself. It's been beat down. It has taken a beating. And it's the beginning of every other relationship. But your children, you're going to need to reestablish relationships with your children. And maybe it's not big tweaks, and then sometimes they're awful big tweaks, because as you're going through your divorce, the last thing you want to be is mean to your kids. You don't want to, tell them no to things. You want them to love you. They want them to still pick you. We want them to love us and want us and think we're the best parent ever. And guess what? We quit parenting. We quit parenting while we were going through all of it, whether we intended to or not. We quit because we were in distress. We quit caring about ourselves. We quit being a parent and enforcing the rules in our house. And now here you are, reestablishing those boundaries and those rules with your children as to what life is going to look like going forward. And how do you do that if you don't have that moral fortitude inside to remind you of who you are and how you want to raise your children? Because you're a mess. And now your kids are caught knee deep in that mess. And it's time to redefine who is important in your life and how you're going to interact with them going forward. So from your children to your friends. Maybe there were people that didn't support you through the divorce, or maybe there were people that just disappeared. Did they disappear because they didn't love you? Or did they disappear because you going through a divorce brought out the chinks in their personal relationship? And it caused them distress. What will my husband think if I have a divorced friend? True situation. Your friends, you will lose friends. Nobody wants to hear this. But when you go through divorce, you will lose friends because the things that were your commonalities when you were married may have changed. And I had a situation where even my next door neighbors had a big old party, and I always went to their parties. And they called me up to let me know they were having a party that weekend. And by the way, I was not invited. It was couples only. So things do change in ways that we don't anticipate or expect. But the beautiful thing of that is that as we develop the new relationships based on how we want our life to be and who we're choosing to be post-divorce, how we're choosing to raise our children, what we do for fun, is going to bring people into our lives that have commonalities with the way we're choosing to live our new life. And that's where it does get fun.
Yeah, it does get fun. It just takes some work. And so when you're working on yourself, you want to be working on your emotional state, your physical state. Don't be laying around eating out of the living in the pantry, but get dressed, get to the gym, work out, get active again, and pursue your interest. Like you were saying, Allison, get out there and have fun, because that's where you're going to meet like-minded people, is doing the things that you like to do, the things that you enjoy doing. So as you're working on these few things, they're big, but they're few, your emotions, your physical being, and then just getting active and developing your interest again. As you work on those, you get stronger, you build confidence, and you start building new relationships, and more easily can restore any relationships that are damaged or broken in some way. So that's the first thing you want to do. And I think then the next thing is you got to be really honest and transparent with yourself and with other people. Coming out of a divorce, if a friend hurt you because they couldn't deal with the divorce, or like Allison said, maybe it exposed some chinks in their armor and their relationship. So it's like, gosh, if I look at you and see what you're going through, I really got this problem over here. So I can't look at you because I don't want to be reminded of my own house being a mess. Be transparent with those people and say, hey, I get that you couldn't hang around me, but your friendship is still important to me if it is. But you've got to be honest, and you've got to be transparent, and you've got to tell them, hey, it hurt. It's okay to say things like that. And we live in a society today that everybody's afraid to tell the truth because they might offend somebody. Heaven forbid, should we offend somebody? But you can do this in kindness and respect. But be honest and transparent with your feelings, because if you don't, you're going to hold on to that baggage and you're not going to be able to restore that friendship. It might look okay on the surface, but down below the surface, it's still going to have issues. No other way around it.
And, and I love that you brought that up, because to me, it's your friendships then become your testing grounds for who you're going to be, the choices you're going to make in your life, and how you're going to live going forward. Who better to test out how you're going to do that than on your friends? Because they're going to let you know if you're going too far. They're going to let you know if you're getting a little bit out there, and they're going to let you know if you're being too conservative and it's time to live again. But it gives you a safe place to test out, because one of the problems that we have when we're married to the wrong person is we're not acting like ourselves anymore. We're busy trying to be the person we think they want us to be. And now that we're out of it, is that who you want to go into your next relationship as? The person you thought your spouse wanted you to be? Or do you want to go into that next relationship as yourself, fully owning who you are as a human being, what you like, what you love, what you dislike, and what makes you happy? Because if you don't do that for yourself, no one else can do it. And that may be what happened in your last relationship. Why are we going to carry that into the next one? Why are we going to go from point A to point B without taking the time to stop and figure out what's right for us and what makes us happy? And if you've got your friends around, the way they respond and react to what happened and your conversations, and as Elizabeth said, if they're your true friends, they'll be there and you'll hash it out and it'll all be fine. And if they're not, if you keep them in your life, you learn to continue living based on other people's standards. And what happens when you start dating again? Right down that path again. The same path that ended up ruining your last relationship. You'll just do it over and over and over. And I got 2 marriages under my belt to prove that. And it wasn't until I stopped and I figured out who I was and what I wanted and what I needed in life and what was important to me. And when I did that, all of my relationships got better and benefited. And I feel closer and more comfortable with the people that I love.
Speaking of dating, Allison, when is the magical right time for a person to start dating again? Because I know that that's on a lot of people's minds post-divorce.
You know, the magical time, there is no silver bullet. For each person, it's different. My clients always ask me, when can I date? Because they're thinking they need to date. And I'm letting them know they're not ready. But I'm not going to tell them they can't date. They have to learn that for themselves, that they're not ready. But I do give them a caveat: go ahead and date. But if you do, it's going to cost you a little bit more in coaching, because I'm going to have to spend some extra time untwisting the additional damage that dating too soon has done. And a friend of mine who is a therapist one time said, the person that you would date when you're broken, the person that you would attract, the person that you would be attracted to when you're broken, just coming out of a horrible relationship, is not the same person that you would want to spend the rest of your life with when you're happy and healthy and know who you are.
That's a fantastic quote and words to live by, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just say this, and I'm going to take it a step further, and y'all can yell at me if you want to, but I don't think as a woman, it's my job to be out there looking for a man. Okay. I'm the one that should nurture and nourish a relationship once it's started. But last I checked, the men were the ones that were out there as the hunters. They were the ones out there tracking things down. And it is in a man's nature to look for the woman that he wants in his life. And when he finds her, he will pursue her, and he will go through hell and high water to get her attention. But if you're not the woman that he wants and you just throw yourself at his feet, you will be used like a doormat. And that is the mistake we make over and over again. So my advice would be, you're ready to date when an amazing man finds you and asks you out, and you're interested in going. And you can do so without bringing up your ex the first 5 hours you're together.
That, I believe, is a really good rule of thumb. I can't tell you how many dates I've been on in the past where the man wants to start talking about his ex-wife or his divorce or something related to that. And I'm like, we don't even know each other yet. We haven't even gotten our food order. And you're telling me this. It's a big turnoff. So don't be a turnoff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, a good man is looking for a good woman. And the problem is, we don't have a definition for a good woman. We have the definition for a good girl, but we don't have the definition for a good woman. So I'm going to give you one. And I want you to hold on to this and see how it feels to you. But a good woman is a woman who knows her own mind, who's not afraid to speak her own mind and live by what her mind tells her is right for her. A good woman is someone who will pitch in and help when needed, but will also know when pitching in and helping will push her too far or stretch her resources further than they can go. And those are things to look at. What is a good woman? And those are some ways to categorize a good woman, and define for yourself what you as a good woman would look like and be like. And then, as someone once said, write your obituary and then start living your life to make it come true.